Hello, everyone. I am Nasira and I am the energy architect. We have the leadership series going on right now, and we have a global leader with us. This is Sajjad Ahmed. Hi, Sajjad.
Hi, Nasira.
Thank you for joining us today. I know you have a very busy schedule, but Sajjad has made time to talk to us. I'm just going to give a small introduction of Sajjad. So Sajjad Ahmed's career spreads over different areas in the information technology space. He has overall 24 years of experience, and his first stint was with General Electric in Hyderabad. He then moved to Computer Associates, followed by HCL Technologies, and 14 years back, he joined Capgemini in Mumbai. Most parts of his career, he's been in business roles. He was a project manager, service delivery manager, and a portfolio director. He has worked in different cities in India and Europe. During his expatriate life in Amsterdam, he met many people from different parts of the world and got exposed to diverse cultures. This experience led him to pursue masters in psychology and an eventual move to human resources functions. In HR, he started in talent management, built HR internal control functions, and moved to learning and development. He is currently the global head of learning for insights and data units of Capgemini. Wow, Sajjad, you've done a lot in 24 years.
Well, thank you, Nasira, first of all, for having me. And yes, when you were doing that introduction, I just went back to a couple of events or colleges that I go to, and the students or the host will go through my LinkedIn profile and kind of make notes and then say about what are the different things. But I'm so glad you kept it very brief and touched upon the most important things. So, yes, there have been a lot of things that have happened in the last 24 years. And I think change is the thing that helped me to grow. That is what I believe looking at the last 24 years of my career. Yeah.
Okay. And you very intentionally moved to psychology. What made you do
Indeed,
that?
yes, I get this question a lot when I do my introduction or somebody else does my introduction. In fact, day before yesterday, I was talking to youngsters in our organization, and one of the girls asked me, like, sir, from technology related stuff to psychology and then HR, I mean, what made you move? Then I told her that a couple of reasons for that. One is because of my stint in Amsterdam, where I stayed for a considerable amount of time. I saw my friends or the colleagues that I used to work with, how different their approach was towards life, their behaviors or their thoughts, and their outlook towards certain aspects. So then I started questioning, like, is there something wrong with me as to why is it that I am unable to think that way? So I wanted to figure out. A lot of people say that they pick up psychology, Nasira, because they want to understand others. But in my experience, I guess we go and pick up certain studies because we want to understand ourselves first. Others come later. So that has been the shift to psychology, I would say.
Sajjad, today I want to talk to you about something that's very silently happening in most organizations everywhere. People don't speak about it, and that is politics. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to know why is office politics often viewed as negative aspects of organizational life? Can we reframe this into opportunities for growth and connection in some way?
You are so right, Nasira, because I think office politics need not be a dirty word, because majority of us, as you rightly said, relates it with a negative connotation. Not sure if we relate it with politics as in journal politicians, but office politics, in my opinion, is really just the art of influencing others so that we can get stuff done at work. I have seen that it's easy to use politics as an excuse for a lack of achievement or an outlet for our frustrations most of the time. But it's a lot more effective to use politics to get things done too. And, in order for us to understand this a little better, we should recall a nice quote by Nietzsche. He said, all things are subject to interpretation. Whichever interpretation prevails at a given time is a function of power and not truth. So, what instances, scenarios are we interpreting, and in what context, and what is the environment you are in, and who are the players, and what are the power dynamics? As long as we focus on that, then I think our view of office politics will change.
Right. You know, when you use this phrase power dynamics, why is it important for leaders to really understand them more deeply?
See, I mean, because we just touched upon politics, putting that into a bad light, right? Let's define this before I go to your question. Let's also take a step back and see how the politic gets defined most of the time, right? The bad politics and the good politics. And obviously, as a new leader or leaders need to focus on the good politic, but let's look at what bad politics is also, right? So, bad politics, if you ask anybody, it's about sucking up, backstabbing, rumor mongering, which some people use to advance themselves at the expense of other people or the organization, right?
Right.
And bad politics are at the core about promoting oneself by any means necessary. People can go to any extent. And really bad politics are about being sneaky, perhaps even immoral, if you ask some people, to intentionally harm someone else for your own personal gains, right? But the good politics, Nasira, I feel is about the completely acceptable and legitimate ways of being recognized or influencing what happens and doesn't happen, of guiding what decisions are made and not made, etc. Because I think the leaders need to understand that organizations don't have an independent life or identity, right? They are
Yes.
just the sum of many correlations, both of individuals and of interest of those individuals, which are always shifting. So the moment they have this perspective, I think they will kind of focus and take their energies in doing the good politics versus the bad politics.
It's very interesting the way you reframed it. I like the way you also spoke about politics in positive light. So, in your journey, did you have to how did you get an understanding of this deeper meaning of politics and not just see the negative but also the positive?
Yeah. So, there are basically two set of people, in my opinion, where we kind of feel that, okay, politics is being played. The first person definitely is the boss that you work with, right? You ask anybody when they talk about politics, first person that comes is the boss. Now, I mean, if I have to share with you, probably I'll share a couple of scenarios and how that has helped me to understand the good politics, which has also benefited me in terms of having so many changes in my life, working in different countries and getting the opportunities within the organization wherever I was working, right? So one thing that people always say that my boss puts me up in competition with others. They feel that, okay, there is some politics that is happening there. What I have come to realize is sometimes promotions, if there is uh, it is not on the table, right? But some
Yeah.
senior executives often leave roles and responsibilities very ambiguous just as a test because they want to see who can take that pressure, who will rise to the occasion, who wants to get ahead badly enough. And some bosses think that fostering that internal competition helps them identify the truly talented. I mean, luckily, I never had to experience this kind of bosses who kind of were pitting me against somebody else. But I know a lot of leaders that I have met in offline settings who have shared their respective stories of how they are seeing who is going to, you know, show that they have the real deal going and can be promoted. That is one. And the other bit is what I hear is my boss is a control freak. I mean, the micromanagers or whatever.
Yeah.
So if your boss isn't micromanaging other colleagues, then his or her behavior could be a clue that you are underperforming or his or her objectives are threatened. And this revelation or this lesson happened to me when I used to work for a leader who was new in the organization. And after he joined, he got another person that used to work with him in his previous organization. And given that he had a lot on his plate, he assigned this new person as my manager. And everything was fine when I was working with the first leader. But when this person arrived, I started to feel that I was getting stressed. And when I looked closely, it was because of the constant checking on my login, log out, asking me to work while sharing my screen. Oh, so with increased frequency, asking if the work was completed, I first thought I'll go to the leader, the first one, and complain about this new chap. But then I wanted to put myself in this person's shoe and understand why is this happening. Also, I was the only reportee he had. So there is no chance for me to compare if he is doing this with others. Then I realized that he wanted to make a mark for himself in the organization because he was new. He wanted to show that he got the ground running. When I understood this, instead of asking, I used to inform him before the beginning of the day and before the logout of what is being planned to do today, what has been done, and what will be done the next day. And things just got better post that.
Interesting. Lots of people are not aware of that moment that you had of really understanding, because I know many people who give up at that point, thinking that this is the wrong organization for them. The somebody has come above me, so that means the boss is actually favoring this person. So there's so many interpretations that go into it, and it's really nice that you could actually come here and tell us that there are ways to really navigate this, and it's not exactly what we think. We must have an open mind and understand the situation fully. Yeah, and
Yeah.
when
Sorry, before I lose my train of thought, favoritism. So that is another important bit where people talk about politics and say that, okay, that is a boss's pet. There's always a boss's pet.
yeah.
Sometimes I think favoritism is actually fair because the pet might have a burning talent and desire to excel. Probably works harder without complaining and probably share the boss's goal and vision and build. Instead of that, we need to build our own positive relationship with our boss, then to kind of dethrone that pet. And I have an
Mm.
example here as well, Nasira. So when I was working not in HR, but when I was in the business role, there was one chap who was always invited for client presentations and used to accompany the boss wherever the boss traveled. We always, the other colleagues used to wonder as to what does he have that we don't have. And during one of the dinner parties, when things were not so sober, after a while, I asked my boss the reason why this gentleman is always tagged along. Then he told me the expertise he brings and the confidence he instills in clients about our capabilities. Post that, I started focusing on my strengths in that team instead of comparing or spending more time on the boss's spend. And I just wanted to share that when you brought this favoritism topic.
That, Sajjad, is a beautiful point because that's the point where people start getting frustrated, they start complaining, they want to leave, or that's when the negative politics starts. And
Exactly.
yeah, so that was really quite powerful, to really be able to pull yourself up to that level instead of sitting and cribbing about it. Do something about it and, develop your own skills and just approach it more positively. So,
Yeah.
what are the unique challenges that new leaders face when they step into roles where the political landscape is already kind of established? Because that's a little frustrating for some people. You walk into an organization and it's already, the system's already kind of set. So, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. So I used to have a leader when I used to work for General Electric, and he said that when you join a new team, because I was moving from one department to another department, he said that there will be always be three types of people. I mean, one set will kind of like you, if not instantly, but over a period of time, they'll start liking you. Then there is another set which completely hates you. They don't like you at all. And there is this third set, which is very important, is the one who is not sure whether to like you or not like you. So he said, your job, instead of focusing on the ones who don't like you, is first to maintain that allies that you have, the good connections, and spend more energies on this third set, which is kind of not decided, and bring them closer to becoming your ally. That way, the strength of your allies will be more than the people who don't like you. That
Mm.
was a great thing. Every time anybody comes to me and say I'm going into a new organization or a new team, I tell them that, okay, understand the people and try and put them into these categories, and you know what you need to do.
That's a very, very powerful strategy. I'm going to really remember that. Um, Why do you think navigating office politics is harder for those who prioritize authenticity and integrity? What if it goes against every grain of their value system? And how do you think that they can really strive to get a balance there?
Yeah, so this reminds me a lot of friends I used to have who used to believe in something very deeply, but the others that they used to work with kind of used to have a different view altogether. And how these guys, instead of navigating, you know, completely gave up. Now, the second part of the people that in this equation of office politics we talk about, we finished the boss, which is an important element, right? The other set is your colleagues, your peers, right? Now, if we take an example, Nasira, of let's say a bully, like the bullying doesn't happen only in schools or colleges, right? It happens in organizations too. So let's say you have bully, and bullies of all ages want to actually manipulate the political and social power in their environment so that they can control others. That is their prime objective, nothing else, right? Now, there is a possibility that they might have some honorable intentions also. So what I mean by that is the bully probably feels so much about a particular project that if somebody is not working according to the expectation of that project, then they start bullying, right? So is as an individual or a leader, I guess we need to see if this person is being critical of you or just striving to ensure high quality of the project that you are a part of, right? And although what I have seen is people try and create a gang to counter the bully, which is not going to work because people also have power. I mean, yes, when you band together with take somebody else's support, that also works. But a lot of times you don't have to kind of create another. It truly becomes a political party then,
Yeah.
one party versus other. And
Right.
I'll give you an example. There was one such character in my company. Everybody knew she is a bully, but nobody spoke to each other about this person. And I couldn't take it. I understood she was not trying to do this with good intention, but her personality was as such, it was of a bully. I tried speaking to her, but it didn't work. So I had to speak to my boss, and to my surprise, my boss agreed that she has a habit of poking her nose into everything, even if that is not related to her work. And then a week later, over lunch, I was talking to another colleague, and the topic of this person came up, and I happened to share with him about my discussion with my manager. He was like, "Did the manager took it in the right spirit?" I said, "Of course." And we both are on the same page. And that gave him some motivation to speak. And he said he's going to take up that case and share his observations too. You
Mm.
know, so that's one way of dealing with bullies, in my opinion.
I think that was quite authentic because you didn't keep quiet. You were not aggressive, but you felt the need to address it. And you didn't really compromise on your value system. I think that was a very healthy way to really deal with the situation. Are there any clear signs to watch for that indicate unhealthy political games that play in organizations?
Oh, yes. I'm sure in your experience also you might have come across, but there are some people who steal
Mm.
your credit, right? I mean, you have done the work, but they want to go ahead and showcase as if they have done it. So that is another thing to watch out for and call out immediately because in my experience, Nasira, it's just not at a professional setting, but over a period of time, as you age, you get to understand that many times just pointing out the behavior will put an end to it. If you don't point out, then the person will kind of take it for granted and will not know, and that will become the blind side or the blind spot, and then continue doing that, right? And I'll just back this up with another experience from the corporate life. There was this colleague who used a particular slide in the presentation to the management team that was prepared by me. So while the presentation was happening, I did not say anything. But after that, I just sent her a text post the presentation asking, "Is this the same slide that I sent you?" For which she said yes. Then I responded in a very calmer way that, "Please let me know when you're using my slide. I can make it more relevant to the conversation."
Mm.
I did not say, "How dare you use my slide," and all. But I wanted her to get the message that it's okay, you used it, you did not take my name. But next time when you're going to use it, I want to make it more relevant. And that was the last time she used any of my work and projected as if it was hers without giving any credit to me.
Wow, that's actually a wonderful way to address the situation, in a very mature way, in fact, and very subtly. Why is there so much of discomfort around discussing power and influence openly? And how does silence really encourage or make the situation to these challenges worse?
See, I think the example that we just saw, right? That goes to show that if somebody is silent about somebody's behavior, which is generally not accepted in whatever environment you are in, then in my view, it is promoting the person to carry on with that behavior or actions, right? And most often, Nasira, what I have seen is there is a gap between certain people and leaders.
Mm.
While, yes, there are a lot of great humble leaders who have that open door policy and who don't throw their weight around, and they have the time to listen to you, respond to you, and give you the time, make time for you, and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of leaders who don't.
Yes.
So when people are not given that opportunity where they get this feeling that, okay, my leader is listening to me or will listen to me, then there is no way these people who are feeling the politics or whatever will open up. So as a new leader, I think the first and foremost thing is to stop everything if you are talking to somebody. And here also I have a great example. So I was very lucky enough to work with some great leaders in my first organization, General Electric, which became Jekis and Genpact at a later point in time. But I think the foundational years, if there are certain leadership lessons, Nasira, that go a long way, and you tend to practice that. So I used to have this manager, and every time somebody went into his room to talk, he used to put the laptop flap down and then talk to the person. I mean, I tried a lot of times, but I know that I have failed. But just imagine you are in the middle of something, somebody has come, and you are shutting down your laptop to give that undivided attention to that person. Now, when you create that psychological safety in a way, then I'm sure people, if they are having any issues or they are facing any challenges or that political dynamics, whatever, they will be able to share it with you and you will be able to address it very nicely.
Yeah. It's very reassuring when a leader actually does that.
Exactly.
What does it look like to use political savvy for positive outcomes? Which actually encourage collaboration and trust.
There are certain mistakes. I would say some political mistakes people should take care of. And I read this in some book, and I'm sorry I'm unable to recollect, but it remained with me. One is do not become the problem. I mean, if you become a problem, then unnecessarily you will invite a lot of problems your way, right? That is one. Second is do not become one person's person. And I have seen a lot of my ex-colleagues who have tagged along with the same leader wherever the leader went,
Yeah.
right? Just imagine what if the leader goes off and he or she is unable to create opportunities for you. And in this whole episode, probably people might have also seen you getting tagged along, and that leader and the other leaders probably didn't get along. And then you get to hear the music from the other set.
Mm.
So, as the old saying says, never put your money in all the eggs in one basket. Exactly like that. I don't think so. And I try as much as possible to work with different set of leaders because they all bring in certain strengths and you learn, right? So that is second. Don't become one person's person. And the third is failing to even try to convert adversaries into allies. I mean, the example that I gave you about three set of people. So
Yeah.
if you know that, okay, somebody uh, is undecided, then try and make them an ally. Or if certain adversaries are so critical for your success, then are you even making an attempt to have conversation and trying to convert them into an ally? because it's so easy to keep quiet, right? It's so easy to close your eyes and let things happen because that's a comfortable zone.
Yeah.
But the second zone after the comfort zone is the stretch zone. And as long as you're able to stretch yourself a bit and talk to that person, probably things will work out, right? That is the third. And the fourth is unnecessarily making adversaries or foes. Just because ego. I mean, I think people who have read about psychology can relate it to ego. Unnecessarily, because of our egos, we kind of make foes, not realizing that maybe in another project you will have to work with them. And there's a very funny story about somebody that I know who used to work with a leader and had a big fight because of this leader. He left and joined our organization. And to his surprise, the same leader came as his boss in our organization.
Okay, that has happened to me, but I like the leader. It was a coincidence, but yeah, that has happened to me.
So,
Yeah.
and the last one is not accepting or understanding the reality of organizations. Because I have seen that we want to uh, just focus on what we want. But if the organization is not in that context, in that environment to enable it for you, and if you don't understand that and just go with what you want, then it's not going to work out. So these are a couple of things that come to my mind about navigating the political landscape.
Yeah, very, very well articulated over here. Now, since we're talking about organizations, so what steps do you think organizations can take to create healthier power dynamics and reduce the toxicity in the environment,
Oh,
if there is
I mean,
toxicity?
uh, I think organization wise, I don't think any organization itself will create that. It's the people, right? It's the people working within the organization. And yeah, to some extent, organizations can come up with certain policies or procedures. Like, for example, let's talk about this one, which often gets spoken about, the Speak Up, right?
Right.
Speak Up is a forum where employees, if they feel that they are being discriminated or harassed, anything that is not as per the ethical conduct of the organization, can go ahead and freely and then raise the issue with the right set of people. So, in my opinion, the first thing is the organization even investing in educating and bringing that awareness to people. On one hand, you can say that, okay, those teams will be very thinly, you know, they will not have enough people. And if you kind of open the Pandora box, then a lot of people might come with their grievances, and you might not be able to solve each and every uh, question or issue that comes your way, right? But if the organization has the intent to create a good environment, working environment for people, then they will invest in at every given opportunity to promote and bring that awareness. And the second is to have the right set of people who are going to manage that whole team or department, qualified people who can see a 6 and a 9. I mean, that example, when you write 6, are you able to see 6 from the position and the other person as 9? And then promptly going back and resolving those and ensuring that the parties who are getting impacted or the parties who created that impact know and kind of settle the matter.
Sure. Um, so, what's one small intentional action leaders can take today to start mastering these challenges?
Okay. Now, the thing is, we can't create these situations. You know, we, in order for somebody to learn these things, we can't create situations. I mean, yes, there can be case studies or there can be simulations and all that, but real time in an organization, you can't create a political scenario and then put people through so that they learn by practice, right? So what I feel is just like how my manager at one point in time helped me understand when I move into a new role, what I need to do or a new team. Like that, there has to be that connect between a team member or an employee with somebody who has that wisdom. I wouldn't say knowledge about these things because we all learn about these things when we are involved directly into that scenario, right? So somebody who has the wisdom should have these conversations. And even if people are unable to articulate what they want to learn or what they are experiencing, I think leaders should be able to ask those probing questions to these people, either formal or informal, but just to ensure that this toxicity or unnecessary gains only to one person and others are feeling left out, you know. So they need to open that dialogue. They need to have those conversations. If that happens, I guess, again, going back to that psychological safety where people feel very open to share and then act upon the help that they will get.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think would be your advice or like a mantra people who are feeling unseen or sidelined in their workplace?
Okay.
Because
So,
that's that is something that does happen. They're not sure how to maneuver out of that. So, what would your advice be to them?
I think, Nasira, we judge ourselves by our intentions and others by their impact.
Wow.
You know, because we often attribute other people's success to their environment and our own success to our character. That's
Hmm.
because we like to believe that we are inherently good and talented, while others are merely lucky beneficiary of good fortune. I think that should be the starting point where you start to kind of not just look at you, but others in the equation as well, right? So our intentions are an important starting point, but they are largely invisible to others and sometimes invisible to ourselves as well. Because
Right.
intentions only become visible to others through how we act, behave, or show up. So it's our behavior that people see and what they can go on, not what we
Right.
say or what we intend or what we hope for. So
Yeah.
whoever is kind of, trying to navigate need to look at these things first as to, I mean, are they self-aware? I think, Nasira, to a lot of things will get sorted if people are more self-aware about themselves first, then trying to, navigate others in the environment.
I love how you put this because you actually kind of said that people need to get out of their victim mentality, move out of that space and move to a space that is more healthy and introspective.
Exactly. Because it's so easy to play that victim card, but I'm sure if you go and tell this to your leader and say that, okay, I'm a victim, the leader will say that, okay, what action did you take? I
Yes.
mean, are you going to sulk being a victim, or is there anything that you have learned from this? And what changes are you going to make? That is going to be the conversation with somebody that you share this victim card thing with.
I think that's correct. And I think that's really a very healthy way to deal with it. How can listeners shift their perspective from seeing office politics as a struggle to viewing it as a more strategic, value driven opportunity?
Okay, so I mean, if I had to have a last word, Nasira, on this topic, right? It relates to your question as well. Those who try to stay completely out of this political fray are
Yeah.
very less likely to meet their objectives than the one who engage.
Hmm.
So I always tell people, if they come and tell me that, okay, there is so much of politics that happens in my unit or the team that I belong to, then I tell them, so are you a bystander? I mean, are you somebody who is just looking at it, or are you actively engaging in it? So the response I get is, are you crazy? I mean, I don't like politics. I don't want to play those games and all. And then we have a different discussion. And at the end, they are slightly kind of convinced that, yes, I can't, because the more I sit and just watch, people are going to grow, people are going to get opportunities, and I'll be completely left out. So you have to engage. There is no escape from this.
Yes. I think it's time people moved from that mindset and really be a lot more use that positively and to their strength. Actually, that could be a turning point for them where you know uh, things will actually come from inside. Like, how can I make myself better? How can I improve myself? How can I stand out more? So it actually may surprise them.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. And it goes back to the same stuff, Nasira, about that comfort zone, and a stretch zone. And the third is the stress zone. And I think probably people feel that it will be too much of a stress for them to engage in such things. But if they focus on that, okay, it's just going to stretch me a little, then I am sure they will see that opportunity zone.
Lovely. Sajjad, I could talk to you forever. I cannot tell you how much value you have just added, so many insights you have added today in our conversation. I have had a few moments where I'm actually now reframing how politics really is. Thank you for really presenting it in a new light for everybody to see this more positively.
Nasir, actually, yesterday I attended a ETHR session, and the person who was moderating it asked all of us to do our introduction. And besides the name and the company and the role that you are doing, he said, also tell us one thing that energized you last week. So when I was doing my introduction, I actually spoke about this podcast, and I told him that what is energizing me is about my meeting with an energy architect. That's how she calls herself. And I have a podcast tomorrow. So, well, thank you so much for asking me the right set of questions around this topic. And I hope I was able to add value to your listeners about my personal stories and whatever I have read and learned in my experiences. And I just want to wish all your listeners all the best with their political makeover.
Thank you. That's very, very sound advice. The one thing I would like to point out today, and a learning that I have had through our conversation today, is that it's very easy for us to feel victimized. It's easy for us to get stuck there thinking we're victims and there's no way out. The reason why I came out with this podcast was essentially to help people get unstuck in their lives, and it happens through intentions. And these intentions can be designed if you are aware of it and if you're using them, if you want to really get unstuck. And today's topic I felt was a difficult one where I have a lot of my clients often come to me with this problem of I'm not sure how to survive in a toxic environment. And I think you have very articulately reframed this entire scenario just with your energy.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing this up because I also want to share, Nasira, when I spoke to some of my close people about this podcast and the topic that we might discuss, a lot of them came back and said that, will you be natural in that? Because that is something which people stay away from. Then I told them, exactly. And this is my stretch zone. I mean, if you ask me, and they told me that you might do good when it comes to empathy, humility, and relationships, learning mindset, and all that stuff. But this is an off topic. I said, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to push myself as well. Because as you said, a lot of people need it and they always get aligned to the bad part of it. And the moment they change their perspective and start looking at the positive politics, just imagine the possibilities in their careers.
Yes, I really cheers to the possibilities, and thank you for putting the light on that aspect for people to really see this differently, for them to go back inside and bring out their best. And people don't have to get unstuck, don't have to get stuck because of office politics. Sajjad, out of the many talents, I must mention that not just being a global leader, but Sajjad has also done some acting. How did that happen? I
Oh,
told you I
yeah.
was going to ask you now that I know.
Yeah, well, it's not a big budget film or a regional film, but it was a film that one of my ex-team member was doing it. And at that point in time, I was studying psychology. I was doing my master's. And I don't know what got into him. And he came and he said, we are doing a film and there is a role of a psychologist. Would you like to do it? I was like, I mean, I have never done acting. Yes, in school I did drama. That's what I remember. But after that, I never did acting. So I was like, okay, maybe there will be something for me to learn. And I just signed up and I said, yeah, let's do it. And that is how it happened. It was released on YouTube and it was a movie with some good message for family oriented, you can say. So it was good. I learned a lot. But that was the only film that I did. Not that 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 is my passion. I want to go there. It was just for an experience, but a very good experience, I would say.
Wow. So, this was Sajjad Ahmed, a man of many, many talents and a global leader. Sajjad, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I want to wish you immense luck and a million miracles for all the lovely work that you're doing. So, more power to you.
Thank you so much, Nasira, and really looking forward to meet you in 2025. And thank you once
Yes,
again for having
yes.
me.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was Sajjad Ahmed, and this is Nasira. I'm signing off, and I'll meet you at the next show. Bye.